It was back in 2003.
Hello, I am Viddy of Viddy's Gaming Videos. Welcome to this post commentary for the Top 25 Games Showcase 2021. This will be a somewhat awkward commentary to do because this is a very talkative project. Plus, back when I did this project, I was calling my channel Viddyos Games for Fun. So basically, this commentary is just something I felt inspired to do to talk about the creative process. Speaking of that project I did recently before this recording I'm doing, and also just to talk about how the origins of it, how it was made, some of the decisions involved, what I generally think of the games included, and maybe to also gauge some interest for a showcase sequel. The reason I might be doing a sequel hopefully be made apparent as I talk about this. So basically, what were the origins of this showcase, which for those of you who don't know, and again, you should be watching this beforehand, it goes back to when I think it was around 2002 to 2003, give or take, that Hyper Magazine, an Australian gaming magazine publication, did sort of, maybe regularly, a top 50 games sort of series or something. And one such list they did was having a list of about 112 games, give or take, and they chose the readers, asked the readers to mail the top 20 games from that nomination list, and mail it and stuff, and the games that were featured the most would appear. The top 50 games publication that you saw in the intro earlier, so about 2003. So out of all the 112 games, there were classics such as Metal Gear Solid, Mario 64, Halo, you name it. And GoldenEye 007 on the Nintendo 64 one, surprisingly. So after seeing that list, and especially the little bit of critique given for each game from the Hyper writing staff, inspired me to do a list of my own. I did a very, very small one with just my other three family members, and also a nomination list. So I thought I'd try and make it a bit bigger, and that became a tradition, something I did almost every year. Well, I did every year, 2003 to 2008. And the nominations list grew, the amount of participants grew, and it became a tradition until I decided to stop it because, university and life sort of got underway a bit. And I always entertained the possibility of bringing it back, hence this very project. So I hope you ready to join me as I reminisce about it. And I'm just interested in top games lists. So I can talk about at least this section right here, which features the introductions of the participants. There wasn't essentially a requirement when submitting a list where you didn't have to, give an introduction, basically, saying like, "Hi, I'm Viddy, and these are my top games," or "This is what I generally think about my list. My favorite ones are RPGs," or things like that. And because not everyone did one, I entertained the possibility of, after doing the whole, boom, 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 I did the lists previously, introduction montage, and my hosting, to do just the introductions to all the participants' names. And we have, great introductions here from Mike Annoy to Moggle Mick, who goes by a different name on Twitch now, and the Fun Bros here. So it's a great treat to see people submit their own things. However, looking back on it, it is a little bit of a long intro. So maybe what I could have maybe done in retrospect was do it either as a side video or a part 0 or something. Who knows? Something for the showcase sequel, do a part 0 or something. But it was the best thing I could come up with at the time, because I was like, should I try and, because, as you'll see, it's a countdown of games. And also with this introductions side of thing as well, I think a fair amount of people thought that I was just going to show people's lists one after the other, rather than do what the hyper list did, and do, what the top tallied games were. But even so, it was still ended up being a great project and a great list. We will talk more, or I will talk more about each of the games and what I generally think of them. Which also brings me back just very quickly to something. A fair amount of what I'm probably going to say throughout this commentary series might be reiterated from the Twitlonger post I did way back in 2021. Maybe also a few of my opinions might have changed since then. I have, I would have probably changed my list as well, because I also did my own list very early on, so I didn't get swayed by the... so I did my list very early on, where it looked like this project was really going to become a thing. So I wouldn't be swayed by other people's opinions or lists, like, oh, that game is doing too well, that game is not doing too well. No rigging, I assure you, although we could talk about that. So this project was actually given some thought in 2020, or maybe it was 2019, no, 2020. Not many people seem to be interested, if at all, really, like no one. So I thought I would actually do it properly for 2021, and I got a fair amount of people, about 40 people, a somewhat small sample, but yeah. Also, this showcase was an opportunity for me to do a face reveal, which I think I did around May 2021, because prior to that, I only did, just my voice. And even during the reaction videos, like, say the Nintendo Reviewer Silver Screen Showdown and things like that, I just put my, me avatar up instead with a variety of emotions. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do a showcase, I guess I will have to finally show my face and do the hosting, because that's what I, will have to do or something. And Cat Food, one of my subscribers who also chose his own games as well, helped with the filming here as well. And also, as you can see here with the different names, not everyone, of course, did their own introduction, even via a text, so I simply just listed all the names, pretty much, of everyone as well. So, so some people did, text commentary, or just had a list of titles, depending on, timing, or, we're all pretty busy, and this project took up a lot of time, so we could talk more about the, I could talk a bit more about the editing process as well, and some of the decisions I made as well. Starting with game number 25, which is, of course, Minecraft. Now, I can actually reveal, while I'm looking at my paper of notes here, Minecraft was actually going to be ranked a lot higher than 25. Someone, I think, Generations, had Minecraft at tier 1, until they changed their minds right at the very last minute. But at least I was looking at Minecraft for my very first time in preparation for including it in the showcase. Yes, I have never played Minecraft prior to the showcase, and to this day I've still only played the demo. Yes, hopefully maybe try and play more of this game at some point. And playing the demo for the first time, I was a little bit worried that I wasn't going to understand the appeal of this game. I'm like, okay, it's popular, but I don't understand why it's popular or something. But thankfully, playing the demo, which was, I think, only just Survivor mode, I could really sense the appeal, going to the crafting and the progression, and I enjoyed things such as trying to build a house, or building basically a vertical series of blocks to try to get up into the sky. So yeah, it's a good choice, though it certainly overtook, game number 26 and stuff. We can talk about the runner-up later. Now, that quick, inclusion of Joker from Persona 5 there was, I thought to make that joke stand out a bit more, well, if you could call it a joke, sorry, was you know, like, because, again, it was all about maybe Joker and others submitted, again, their list thinking there was just going to be one list after the other. It's like, hang on, Joker from Joker from Persona 5 likes Minecraft? Sorry for the throat there. So I thought, well, the best way to talk about it is just to put a picture of Joker there as well. And also, speaking of the people who chose this game, Mike Annoyed, who is just talking right there and then, also submitted not just their own voiceover for talking about why they like Minecraft to the other games they chose, but also their own footage. So basically, all this footage of Minecraft is not one I recorded. I did record myself playing the demo, but I think it had like a watermark or something, and at the same time I thought it wasn't terribly engaging. So Mike Annoyed's footage, as well as footage that I'll credit again, and I credited in the video itself to Snowman Gameplay, was basically the best possible footage I could get for this, complete with some calming music. Minecraft does have a good soundtrack. But yeah, again, I think generally the reception to Minecraft being the top 25 was fine, actually. And, you know, you could talk in the live premiere chat for time and afterwards what you generally thought of Minecraft's inclusion.
And crafting a place to share together.
Joker finishes by saying, Minecraft, while not my most favourite game, I enjoy the
Oh yes, the servers and stuff I generally got stills of, because again, none of the footage would have really featured it. Although certainly the Never was featured a lot in Mike Annoyed and Snowman Gameplay's footage as well.
Out of the environment around you is always a blast.
It completely deserves to be the best-selling game of all time.
Deserves to be the best-selling game of all time, eh? Well, we've got some interesting, you know, opinions as well. I might as well actually quickly bring up in regards to the footage. This was edited on Adobe Premiere, which I've been using since 2018, early 2018. Certainly the more footage I got of things, it would slow my computer down and stuff. This was a huge project.
Perhaps it's better to look at the impact it made on the player, as shown with the game at number 24.
Number 24. And yes, you already know that it's Undertale, which again was a little bit of a surprising choice, because I thought that pretty much this was like, you know, oh, this was such a 2015 game, like, you know, but yeah, people still like it. And it also shows, you know, like the different range of opinions and stuff as well, because Vacant Skull had Minecraft on a lower tier choice, and this is the tier 1 game. Much like Minecraft, I had not played Undertale until the showcase. It's not like I never wanted to play it or anything, it's just, I guess, I played other games, and then I settled down to finally record my playthrough of it through my PC and stuff, and I actually really liked it. It certainly made a bit of an impact on me. I knew actually little to nothing about it. I tried to avoid the spoilers and stuff. But maybe people already know about much of the spoilers from this game, because it's really talked about. Certainly, I think I said this in my Twit longer opinions post, is that really if you're playing for the first time, it is best to go in blind. And hopefully if you're doing a let's play or stream of it, you have to bear with the fandom a little bit. And it doesn't matter whether you do any of the 3 different runs, you know, pacifist, kill all creatures and stuff, it is actually a good game. And yes, I wanted to try and not spoil anything there as well. I will say, editing-wise, I think Undertale is actually one of my favourite sections in this showcase, for one simple reason.
We can't let Toby take
all of the critiques of this game pretty much come from the voiceovers from the people who chose it. So you didn't have to hear my voice the whole time, because as we will see later, some of the critiques were, you know, kind of short, or not everyone submitted critiques, which is fine. So you didn't have to hear my voice the whole freaking time. So I talked a tiny bit, and I let the critiques of the game speak for themselves, which is why this is one of my favourite moments in the showcase. And also Undertale is a good game, and it's also got good music. Oh yes. Toby Fox did the music. Oh yes. And all the critiques for Undertale were pretty good too.
It knows it's a video game. It knows you know that it knows it's a video game. and it's gonna have fun.
Undertale will always be important for proving indie games are something that can rival major studios.
Oh yes, I think Undertale is technically the only indie game of the top 25. I mean, other indie games were, chosen, but they didn't get into the top, 25. Those were in the runner-up.
I won't go into specifics.
And yeah, it's a good one.
Anyone interested in even trying should go in blind for the best experience.
Yes, I already said that. It's best to go in blind if you haven't played this game already. But some people may already know about much of what is featured, right down to the characters and story moments, but I'm so glad I didn't.
For me, it will...
Like, I've avoided, the discussion dating back to roughly 2015, the Let's Plays and stuff, and it made the experience that much better.
Art style and quirky characters, mature storytelling medium that has fart jokes in it.
Ah, the fart jokes. That became a bit of a winning idea in the Premiere live chat, including, yes, I've tried to see if I have one of those, fart prank, gadgets in my hand or something. And I thought that just seemed to sync up well with the end of the, each section. Like, I would edit each section before doing the hosting and stuff as well. So it was a very long process. Number 23 is the game that won the top 50 hyper list back in 2003, whatever, GoldenEye 007. I will say this, I guess, in regards to quite a few of the games in the showcase. But this is one of those games where I did not expect to really get in because of how old and aged and stuff as it is. But certainly, I guess, nostalgia sold GoldenEye in some ways as well. Again, GoldenEye was recorded off my Nintendo 64. The Nintendo reviewer also has a multiplayer commentary for this on his channel, and it's the only video I could think of for 4-player split screen as well, because the only multiplayer I could record at the time really was 2 players and stuff. I could not get another 2, let alone 3 players to join me in the GoldenEye 007 multiplayer match. Yeah, so that's like my footage there. And the Nintendo reviewer's multiplayer commentary is cleared there as well. I really wanted some 4-player split screen. That is how multiplayer works in GoldenEye. And I think, yeah, it seems like, judging by the early critiques in this section here, the multiplayer was mostly the main draw of GoldenEye. GoldenEye, what I think of the game itself, considering how surprised I was that it got in, honestly, I like it. It's aged and stuff, and maybe I'm not the biggest first-person shooter person, but it's still a decent game, and I can get used to the controls fairly quickly. And hey, we had no idea at the time it would return to Nintendo Switch Online. Hindsight, am I right?
The soundtrack of GoldenEye does
also, the Fun Brothers brings up the soundtrack quite a bit here. Also, that reminds me, I think it's the game after this, the game after GoldenEye that especially had this problem. But there were some critiques that I did have to cut out of each of the game sections because I did want to keep each link as short as possible. So the Fun Bros, for example, brings up one of the lines from the movie that ends up in the game, which I think was half, or in this case half, of everything is luck and stuff. So I wanted to keep the critique short, so I decided to just feature that in a quick on-screen moment. And of course I made sure to go back to the game and record the mission briefings, which were pretty much aspect of the movie that was brought into the game. Although, DAR will beat it up as well, because I played the game before seeing the film. The first time I played this game, I was quite young, fairly young at the time. I was probably, when did I first start playing the Nintendo 64? I was close to 10 years old or something, and I think my cousin had GoldenEye on the, at the time, quite big TV, and so I'd never really played games like this before. And so, I'd not watched any James Bond films until years after that, and so I was just treating this as a first-person shooter game to try and figure out how to win the multiplayer sessions, basically.
This game is so good that my brother bought a Nintendo.
So yes, judging by the commentary here, it's about nostalgia. We can talk about that a bit more with a later game in the list.
Against him.
So basically, yeah, James.
But yeah, I had a very basic setup for recording my Nintendo 64 for this.
Really does its homework.
I guess if this was also... Yeah, so I recorded it in widescreen. I probably should have recorded in the square 4:3 ratio, to be honest. Things look a bit stretched here. But hey, learning for next time. And also there's, the Nintendo Switch online version, which should record more footage of as well. Because I've recorded only like online multiplayer. The Nintendo reviewer will know what I'm talking about. And yes, I also bring up in the hosting here that I had to cut out more critiques here for the game at number... Which one are we on now? 22.
I gotta say though, the explanations for this game make the discussion of this game a bit longer and detailed.
Yes, there was quite a lot I had to cut out for this one. Super Metroid. I did ponder about introducing the section with the voiceover that says the last Metroid is in captivity, but I think again due to time, keeping it short and the voiceover and stuff, I just simply put it in the on-screen visuals. And what a game Super Metroid is! It's probably quite simply my favourite 2D Metroid. There were a couple of sections, or couple of moments that I wanted to get in regards to the speedrunning stuff. Like, I'm not an expert at the mock ball. I cannot do it, like, right away. For, what is essentially, the instant speedrunning thing. So it took me quite a few attempts to actually get it right and then feature it in the showcase. Whereas much of the rest of the footage here is just, a very casual playthrough of the game. Yeah, so, for example, some of the moments that critiques that were cut out from Super Metroid were talking about, say, the multiple endings from the game being similar to, like, say, Resident Evil 2's multiple endings and stuff like that. And I really, really wanted to try and include that moment, and it ended up not being included, due to timing. In retrospect, I actually cannot remember how short I wanted to keep each critique. So I think outside the hosting, I think maybe it was like 3 or 4 minutes or something. So something like that. Because, this was going to be like 10 games per, video, with little bits in between, of course, and hosting. So yeah, I've already talked about, one of the other tricky things in regards to editing the Super Metroid critiques was that Ziada, who I think has mostly left Twitch now, I miss you guy, had a critique of a game that was, somewhat surprisingly for a critique for any game really, was a little bit more critical of the game. Like saying, oh, I like the game, but it's got this problem sort of thing as well. And it made it hard to fit in what, like the general editing style was, where I would have, someone said this sentence, and then another person said this sentence, and then another person said this sentence, which I would, look at in terms of the flow and stuff as well. And even, looking at sound effects, such as, like Kraid roaring, when attacked by Samus as well.
Continuing with Al Younger's
and also, so Ziada was a bit more critical, and I thought, well, it would make it hard to flow with other people's critiques, so I put it at the end of a section. And this also brings me to what the other critiques that were not done in audio, or heck, even talking to camera were. Really, I do sometimes feel a little bit embarrassed in retrospect, like I'm basically reading, someone else's explanation and stuff, but it was mostly the best solution I could come up with, especially given, like, I could understand that not everyone could do a audio voiceover or talking to camera and stuff, and some people, had like transcripts of, or a few people had transcripts of their voiceover or had dot points and stuff, which sometimes do make it hard to do the scripting for each section, because I wanted to transcribe some of the audio voiceovers myself and just figure out what would flow in terms of the critiques, such as, again, Ziada's explanation coming up right here. Yes, Ziada does the sort of, I guess, what you could call the VTuber stuff. So, like, I looked at his critique and I'm like, well, what could... it's hard to get this flowing. So I just thought I'd put it to the end as well. Oh, and yes, I also included footage of footage from Snowman gameplay of Castlevania Symphony of the Night as well. Because I hadn't played it at the time, but I played Castlevania Symphony of the Night since then, and I can actually use my own footage this time. But yes, I thought it just seemed to flow better here as well. And Super Metroid, I think was, generally speaking, yes, there's my Metroid jumper. I thought it was mostly going to be the only Metroid game to get into the top 25, and spoiler, it is. I thought, oh, there's only going to be one Metroid game, it's going to be Super Metroid. Some people may not like it as much as other Metroid games or other games in general, because they might find, you know, say Samus controls a bit floaty and stuff, or they get lost and stuff. But it's still it still holds up. Heck, even more so than GoldenEye does. Oh, number 21 is Mario Kart 8! Yes, and yes, I did bring up, you know, guidelines in regards to choosing games and stuff. That, you know, you could choose, like, oh, Deluxe is the best version of Mario Kart 8 and stuff, which I think was the general, you know, opinion of Mario Kart 8's inclusion. But generally, like, I was like, well, we're going to look at the Wii U and the Switch one as one entry and stuff as well, including, you know, compilations and things like that. But yeah, Mario Kart 8, a great game. And yes, there's footage of me playing online, and yeah, Blue's surely my way to victory. This is also the first instance in the series, the trilogy of videos that I'm doing here, where I include live action footage or live action critique here, such as Davis here. Davis, in contrast to say, like, you know, Mike Noy and others, did their critiques all just by talking to camera, and it gave me a good opportunity to mix his footage, for example, with footage of the gameplay as well as shown here. And they just seem to flow alright as well. Much of the footage of Mario Kart 8 here is shown from, you know, me doing single player Grand Prix and online and stuff, and multiplayer from that I did with other people, or even I think a couple of multiplayer moments were also from, you know, people who play the game without my playing it. And I was like, oh, it's alright if I record you guys playing, I think. Mike and Noid's footage also featured there as well, and I really wanted to have that flow with, you know, what's on screen. And yeah, so basically what I was talking about earlier in terms of, you know, audio critiques, text critiques and all that stuff. So, like, for example, the Nintendo reviewer there would, you know, like, so other people would say to, you know, just simply say, it's alright if I just do it in text and stuff, and I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. Not everyone provided text critiques for every single game, because, you know, there was only so much time that we would have to, you know, talk about the games we chose. And that did make it a little bit hard sometimes, because it's like, hang on, I want to talk about, you know, have more critiques of this game that aren't mine, because I want to try and offer my own, you know, critiques of the game as well, including Viddy plays multiplayer footage here. I think this was, yeah, the only multiplayer commentary I had done for Mario Kart 8 at the time, but there's been more multiplayer commentary of Mario Kart 8 on Viddy Play since then, so gotta promote my Viddy Plays channel, yo. Yeah, and also I sort of do a bit badly. Yeah, I was playing on the top left screen, generally there. But yeah, Mario Kart 8 is a good game, although, as for those of you who have seen the showcase, the rest of it, it probably could have got up a bit higher or something as well. But I think more of my, you know, family and friends, or maybe other people as well, have not played it. In contrast to other Mario Kart games and all that sort of thing as well. And even then, like Mario Kart 8, I thought was going to get higher, as the same thing I thought, as I'm saying here, for the game at number 20, I thought, oh, this was going to get higher. I think one or two other people who are interested in the showcase would also say this is their favourite game of all time as well. But they didn't end up participating in the showcase as well. And Final Fantasy VII, well, it's a classic, and it's very influential and revolutionary. Somewhat surprisingly, the live chat, I wasn't seeing any moments such as, oh, Final Fantasy VII's overrated, what about other Final Fantasy games and all that stuff. I think, even generally speaking, from what I've played of the series so far, 7 would probably have to be my favourite, although 6 was my first Final Fantasy. And also, Final Fantasy VII may have sort of not aged or something, because this is the original we're talking about, not the remake, which is separate. I think 2 people put the remake on their list, but Final Fantasy VII original on the PlayStation 1 out here. This was recorded off my PlayStation 3, actually. So make of that what you will in terms of the quality of the footage. I know some people mod Final Fantasy VII to make it look nicer and stuff, but that's all I had to go with as well. And of course, it's from my general playthrough of the game as well.
The world and the characters and the active time battle.
I can also, so the critiques of this one were a bit short as well, so a fair amount of the time it was down to me to talk about Final Fantasy VII. This is where I can also bring out the sound mixing, sound editing side of things as well. Because Final Fantasy VII has great music, I know, I love it. And also I try not to spoil too much as possible, even though it's an old game. Because most of you know what's happening right there with the materia falling down, right? But it also made for some great critique as well, like some great critiques about, the nuances of the storytelling stuff. But anyway, back to the sound. Oh no! Stop! Hold on! Stop! Sorry about that startling there. For some reason my laptop wasn't plugged in as I was watching this. Hey, so wait, I was talking about the sound. Okay. So Andreas, who volunteered to do some pretty good sound mixing for this, which I'll hopefully bring up later as well, with regards to how hard it was to do the sound mixing. So I gave him 3 separate tracks. One was my voiceover, or general people voiceovers, sound effects and music, including, of course, Final Fantasy VII's music. And I tried to actually keep the Final Fantasy VII music as soft as I could, because, for obvious reasons. This is Nobuo Uematsu's masterwork, which you can listen to on Spotify and stuff. Also, a brief remake moment there. Because, spoiler alert, Final Fantasy VII Remake doesn't get into the top 25 either. Andreas actually turned up the music a bit, and so I basically thought, you know what, I'll just take a gamble, because he's really mixed all the tracks together nicely. I'll just go with it. And thankfully, it wasn't noticed, claims or anything, including, of course, the immortal victory fanfare here. Anyway, sorry for that startling. I'm not sure why, but just for something, just a little wire was moved or something. Boo-hoo. That will make this commentary the most viewed video on my channel. No, that's not what I'm looking for.
That which is probably preferred by many. It is also due to this game that I heard of a series it belonged to for the first time. Actually, it was
oh yes, this is where I talk about a bit of video game music introducing me to the series.
This was a game I mostly did not expect.
Looking back at that phrase, mostly did not expect to get in, I think, well, that's true, but at the same time, I think Persona 4 Golden's inclusion was a bit of a surprise, mostly because I think there was, you could almost say this was an accidental rigging, really. Davis and Dennis both chose Persona 4. And that added to my Kanoid's conclusion here, and I thought, oh geez, are we just randomly getting Persona 4 in? But having played Persona 4 because of the showcase, of course, I don't mind. I played it on Steam, as shown in the footage disclaimer at the top right there, and I've enjoyed it. It was a bit hard to record though, because I've always found PC games hard to record. Also, what you're seeing here, considering it's not Persona 4 Golden, was the introduction to Persona 4 from the original on the PlayStation 2. There was a claim saying that, I couldn't use more footage from the Persona 4 Golden intro when I did put up the rough draft in private on my YouTube channel. And I thought, well, okay, I'll just get the PS2 intro off YouTube, fine. And besides, it shows that, there's, both versions of the game basically count as the one entry. Also, because I was recording pretty much all the footage I was playing off a PC, there's something that you may not have noticed in the montage here, is the mouse pointer mostly the top right, not right there, but mostly from the early scenes of the game. Which I tried to hide in editing as best as I could, because I was recording off the PC, and I accidentally left the mouse pointer over the early section. But thankfully, Micronoid's footage from what I assume is the PS Vita version made for some interesting variety as well, especially for, because at the time I hadn't recorded the rest of the game. So he had like a bit of one of the later dungeons and another confidant conversation. And also, much like Undertale, more of the critiques about this game came from Davis and Dennis and Micronoid. So there was another good opportunity there for me to have as little input in the critiques as possible. And yeah, Persona 4 is a good game. Make of it what you will in terms of, the lists, giving this enough notice to get in, but it's still a good game. And I think it also proves that it's one of the best games in the Persona series. Slight spoiler for the showcase.
It's just a game everyone should play, and now.
But yeah, I kind of, I almost can understand why the intro to Persona 4 Golden had to be claimed or something. And also, I thought a good note to end on here, considering what Davis is saying, is of course Persona 4 soundtrack. Just like Final Fantasy VII, I think. I was also worried this would have a claim or something as well, but thankfully it didn't. Must be so lucky with video game music at times, but sometimes it's like, really? Now this track right here, Your Affection. I heard Your Affection randomly while looking at video game music, and I was like, Persona? Never heard of it. And well, it took years to finally get around to actually playing the Persona series, and the rest is vaguely history. I mean, I've still not played all the games in depth, really, and yes, that's what I was trying to allude to. Maybe that's a little bit embarrassing to do a lip sync to Your Affection, but I think people liked it. What does the fox say? What does the fox say? It doesn't go ring ding 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 ding, Viddy. And I just thought there'd be a little joke there, complete with, of course, my cute Jack Russell, at the time, puppy, doggo, Charlie. Yeah, I just figured because, like Charlie had been seen on, I think, my Instagram and stuff a bit, I'll include him in some form, and also to break up the, have a bit of variety as well. It also gave me a good chance to look at footage of Pizza Tycoon, which I have not played since I was very little, and I don't even know if I could understand it when I was little, but because of the simulation stuff, like it's really complex. Look at all the stuff you had to keep note of here. But at least I still play Subinis, although this is the modern version. More toppings! Yes, thank you. But yeah, I just thought that would, have one Charlie segment per video as well. Oh yeah, speaking of nostalgia, I think 2018, sorry, number 18, I think is probably amongst the most surprising. Almost more so, I think, than GoldenEye or something as well. Because this is a game that I think I've heard people critique and go, what was so good about this game back then? I don't get it. Also, I thought I turned this off. You probably heard my phone there. My phone was telling me to critique about Mario 64, which, to be fair, I don't really have a lot to say about the editing process and stuff for this. Because generally speaking, this was mostly from my review, my 64th review at the time, which made it easier just to get footage from rather than look at all the footage I do have of the game. And this game, well, it's in my... It's odd I say I'm most surprised by this game's inclusion, because I chose this in my list. It's one of my favourites, and I can still go back to this game and have fun with it. I mean, has it aged, and stuff? Well, yes, it has, but it's still... I find it influential, an important game, and I still find it fun to play. Although looking at this editing, a lot of the critiques were done via text, although it's not the worst text critiques example as well. And you can also look at people's tier list, like Moggle Mick had Final Fantasy VII as a tier 1 choice, but of course Mario 64 wasn't a tier 1, so it goes to show, if a game got a tier 1 vote, it was more likely to get into the top 25. But then again, you have lots of people choosing Mario 64, and like I said, well, some people are like, really? What's Mario 64 doing here? And I sort of say the same thing, even though I chose it, because I really do like the game. And this was all footage from the Wii U, yes, including that scary jump scare piano, or the eel underwater.
Cartridge, I have an All-Stars save, which, to be honest, I'm still pretty proud of, because...
Oh yes, for 120 stars, a gaming rite of passage.
It took many years to fully complete them. Slapping up a DJ who plays this in tier 2, I forgot to mention that before.
I forgot to mention it? Well, you can sort of see it in the text, so I'm not sure if that's even a good joke. Slapping up a DJ. We both like Mario 64, we like retro games like this one. Including, I could skip ahead to that mushroom without using a cannon, as the game expects you to. Because I do point out in my review of this game that there's multiple ways to, get the stars in a way. Or give them in any order. See, like that. So, if you try and give Mario 64 a go, if you haven't, I mean, just because it's in the showcase, though, doesn't mean you have to play it, okay? I mean, even then, like, it'd be surprising to see that, like, what's I about to say? Oh, yeah, it's like, Persona 4 got in, what? GoldenEye got in, Mario 64 got in. Also, I did briefly bring up the 3D All-Stars version there, but that's mostly gone now. In fact, I think it was probably gone by the time the showcase even started. The showcase I was hoping to release on my channel closer to, August 9th or something, because, hey, channel anniversary. But there were a few social occasions that I had to attend to, which delayed the editing and stuff, and that's the thing as well, like, like I had to be flexible as much as possible for making this project, which was hard, because I was like, hang on guys, I am not free for a few weeks because I've got to play Uncharted 2 on stream and get footage from that. Yes, Uncharted 2, the footage here primarily comes from when I streamed it on Twitch. Remember when I used to do that? Uncharted 2 only got tier 2 votes. I'm not sure if that says something, apart from the fact that this easily was the highest ranking Uncharted 2 game. Sorry, Uncharted game. Uncharted 1 and especially 4 got quite a number of mentions. I think there was a possibility Uncharted 4 was going to get high up there too.
Is probably the most interesting thing in this game, in my opinion.
So yeah. But what is there to say about Uncharted 2? Well, I think from what I played of the Uncharted series so far anyway, although maybe I could change my mind, it is the highest ranking. It is my favourite Uncharted game so far. Uncharted 1, as good as it was sort of like a build-up to a game like this, but it was still good. I mean, Uncharted 1, I think, was chosen by at least one person as like, well, Uncharted 1's my favourite or something. But still, considering that in mind, I was really impressed by how civil the discourse was around all of these games. Hey, maybe I guess I've led a good community, and those people have good communities too. Because, like Uncharted 2, I wouldn't say it's like, close to being one of my favourite games already, not even close, but I do enjoy playing it. And, the showcase has led to me playing it as well, where there's so many good games as well.
But listening to the OST on YouTube, it's really good.
Also, the music here made it hard as well, because even though I do like Uncharted 2's music quite a bit, I found it hard to remember where the music would come from. So at the very least, what I could do was choose what I think were the best tracks of the game and had these title cards, which, if I'm right, were the font I looked up for much of the UI of Uncharted 2. So I thought, well, that was the best way to show how good the music in Uncharted 2 is. It's very complimentary.
Much has to be said about Uncharted 2 as
and also, yeah, like this was also played off the Nathan Drake collection, which features Uncharted 1, 2 and 3 on the PS4. And it's a good investment actually to play those games.
Let's finish off this look at Uncharted.
Also, the joke at the end of the Uncharted 2 section here. I think in the Premiere live chat, I think it might have been a joke, but someone assumed that this was actually Joker's scream. But no, this scream was from an old adventure game, yes, titled Countdown, that was released in 1990. And I think that scream has featured in a lot of other media as well. But still, it was like, you know, like, I thought that seemed to be the best way to edit the joke, you know, saying, oh, I like sequels like Uncharted. Hang on, Duke Nukem Forever? I played Duke Nukem Forever and it was terrible. That's what Joker was saying, because I myself have not played Duke Nukem Forever, and I probably never will.
Name tag being above the many characters in this game.
Oh, I've got my eccentric faces. Maybe doing a face reveal wasn't a good idea after all. No, I kid. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It was either this or Melee. Melee didn't get in. But hey, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate got a pretty decent position here, I believe. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, in regards to the editing, it was one of the first, I think, sections I edited, and I looked at all the, you know, footage I had without looking at my review or review series, but I did quite a while ago. And that's where I was a little bit hard to edit, because there was so much footage I had of playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate over the years. Although Micronoid had some good footage where he mained as Joker from Persona 5, speaking of which. So I think it was here I started to notice how gradually slow the computer was getting, because it was like, you got all these files of footage in Adobe Premiere, I can't keep up. But even so, yeah, it was good to look at all the footage, and yeah. Although I certainly chose other footage to play over Mike Kanoi's voiceover there, because a good portion of the time, you know, he also had the 8-player footage there. Also, I'm not sure if you just heard the siren there. But the funny thing is, when I was recording the hosting bits for Uncharted 2 and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, that is when there was a lot of noise of birds and helicopters. The helicopters at the time, I believe, were really looking out for COVID stuff. You know, going, hang on, are there too many people in the park and stuff? Right, I mean, this was filmed in 2021. Things have improved a lot in life since then, COVID-wise. So really, we was like, hang on, we've got the hosting bit for Uncharted 2, the hosting bit for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and the outro to film. Can everything in life just stop being quiet? Not including this music though. And I chose, you know, a few good music remixes here as well. But yeah, it was like, come on, can you just be quiet? And also, I might as well also spoil just a tiny bit. I chose one of the other Smash Ultimate remixes as the end credits music, which was a creative decision where I thought, you know, I'll choose the music from the game that's at the end of the first episode, just as there is at the game of the second episode, and sort of at the third episode. But there's plenty more commentary to do for the final 2 episodes. I think I've talked about most of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and of course I've talked about the opinions, and so far this is a great selection of games. I wouldn't really change the selection at all. It's not like I looked at the games that were ultimately featured and I went, really? Minecraft? Really? Undertale? Really? GoldenEye? No. I just thought it would make for some very interesting, you know, thoughts. Like people thought, hang on, people chose this game? People chose Uncharted 2 over the others? People chose Smash Ultimate over the other Smash games? Well, it's an interesting, you know, topic of conversation. And like I said, I love doing lists. And looking back at it now, it was just great to do this list. That's an immortal shot, isn't it, of all the characters joined together?
We've covered games 25 to 16 of the show.
Yeah, so I think it was also... So I did a lot of brainstorming with others for, you know, the criteria for games, you know, how many games to choose, whether to do in a tier list and all that stuff. And I think it was suggested that I do the showcase in multiple parts, and I think probably that was for the best. I mean, this was nearly an hour long, you know. And so I hope you enjoyed rediscovering, or heck, even discovering, the series with me so far. So next week we will look at part 2. I did consider doing the commentary series within a couple of days of each other, but I only have so much time. And in advance, I want to thank you all so much for watching the commentary series, and special thanks to everyone here with their lists. It made the project all the more bearable, all the more entertaining as well as bearable. Because the critiques were great. I liked looking at the games, and I was like, oh. I mean, it was a lot of work to look at all the game titles, do my research and go, like some people did have a couple of, like, oh, hang on, you're having more than one version of this game here. That's not how we do, not how we're doing them. But still, it was great. And thanks, of course, to, Cat Food for the filming. Andres, as I was talking about, thanks for helping out with the sound and everything, and for Mike Annoyed, Nintendo Reviewer, and Snowman Gameplay for their additional footage. So, have a good day or night or whatever it is, and I, Viddy of Viddy's Gaming Videos, not video games for fun, will see you next week. More Top 25 Games Showcase, y'all.